So when I was on my way here this morning, I was coming up 78 and off of George Bush and stopped at the light here at Ben Davis in 78, and I had a moment looking at the cars in the parking lot and realizing that there was something happening here and that there were people who were dedicated to this place and that there was activity and life and a lot of love here, and it just kind of struck me in that moment because, you know, February 2018, when I first got here, there was none of that. And, oh man.
It's because of you.
So we had a few dedicated people who had been here for a number of years, and they were tired because they were working hard to keep this place alive under some really tough circumstances, financial circumstances. And it worked, and we made it work, and we came through, and the onus was on me as the new spiritual leader to have a vision for this place, to imagine what it could be, to spend some time in prayer and meditation, to think about what it is I was called to do here and what all of us together, the few that were here holding this place together and really making it work. And man, they did some tough work. I mean, they maintained this building, made it look good, and they were paying the bills and really just putting in all they had and more to make it work. And it's hard to start from that place and make something bloom. It really is. But together we were able to work our way through understanding that something else could happen here. And it doesn't happen easily. A lot of you know when you're stuck in a place in your life and you want something else to happen, it's hard to break out of what is. It's hard not to see what the current picture is and to see something else in front of you and to hold that vision and to hold your imagination in a place that's different from what you're currently experiencing and feeling. So I love that one of the 12 powers that Unity believes in is imagination. Imagine that. That imagination is a power. Something that we can use, a tool that we use that is God-given and that we are naturally endowed with to help us craft, and I use that word specifically, to craft our lives the way we would like it to be crafted, to craft anything, and that's what we did here for this center. We crafted this. When I got here in February 2018, first of all, this room didn't look like this at all. We had a huge, huge organ in that corner that felt like it was eating up half of the room. I mean, it was huge, huge. And we had a piano, and there were lots of tchotchkes and pictures and stuff on walls, and there were stuffed animals, and there were pillows, and there were overstuffed chairs, and we had a lot of stuff. We had physical clutter, and of course that equals mental and emotional clutter. I mean, stuff was all over. Every single cabinet, every single closet was brimming with stuff, most of which, 99% of which, was never used. Never used. We had 3 sets of china. And slowly but surely, I love to purge. One of my favorite things in life is to purge stuff. Go into a closet, go into a room, and just start getting rid of stuff. And I have to admit, I confess now that I was making stuff disappear every time I walked in here. And people would say, "What happened to such and such?" "Oh, I don't know. I don't know." Haven't seen that. And I was packing my car every single time I walked in here with something else because we needed space. Because it's hard, it's challenging to figure out what's next when you are surrounded and crowded and clouded by stuff, mental or physical, or emotional. And so we had to get rid of stuff so that we could figure out who and what we were and where we were going. And so the stuff started leaving. I disappeared it. But I think that you are welcome. You are welcome. It was interesting because months later, years later, one of the things people said most often is the place feels clear and open. And that's good. Because in clear and open, you can craft something else. You can allow this thing, whatever this is, outside of the brain, the imagination, the mind, your consciousness, to lay hold of divine substance, divine presence, the ethers, whatever you want to call it, and imagine something new, and that's what we did. So it's interesting that 7 years ago, I imagined this place as a learning center. Not just a place that we came to on Sundays to do this, but a place that we could have at our disposal throughout the week so we could learn more about who we are, what we're doing here, what there is in life, how to become more of who we are called to be and step forward into the world. And that's exactly what is happening here in this place now. Now. Imagination. I had to imagine this. I had to call other people in to imagine it with me, to see it and to hold it when it looked nothing like this, when we had no people in seats, when we had 4 or 5. It was the board that was here. 4 or 5 people. We didn't know where people were going to come from. So many had left over the years prior to that. We didn't know where they were coming from. We didn't know how this was going to happen. We didn't know how far we were going to get down the road, but we knew we were headed somewhere. And slowly but surely, we crafted this in our minds and, more importantly, in our hearts. And we held on to that even when it looked like it wasn't going to happen, because there were some days it looked like it wasn't going to happen. But we held on to that. And somehow, well, not somehow, and then people started feeling that something was happening here, even when they were just driving down the street. We hadn't advertised. We were on social media kind of, sort of, but nobody was paying attention to it. But people would drive up to the front door and say, "Oh, I see cars in the parking lot. What's going on?" And they would come and they would stay. People who were going other places on Sunday mornings would say, "Something told me to come here. I don't know why I'm here, but I'm here. What are you doing?" And we would have service, and they would stay, and they became members. That kind of thing was happening. So as we opened up, as we imagined this place, the universe responded. God responded.
Yes, that's right.
And people started showing up. Things started showing up. Ideas started unfolding. People got hold of those ideas and made them work. Some things left, some things ended, other things started. Other things took hold and had life and became this, and became all of you here. Probably 99% of you were not here 7 years ago. Yeah, it was Paul and Judy, Cece, Mike. She was looking for me. So the four of you, Anne? Not yet, not when I was first here. Okay. All right, so 6 whole people. 6 whole people. 7 years ago, and I don't know, it's too much to count right now. But look at the energy in this place now. Feel this, and not everybody's here today. This is what can happen with the power of imagination. Okay, all my notes are over here. So the metaphysical meaning of imagination, this is from the Revealing Word, which is one of our texts. It's the faculty of mind that images and forms. It's the power to shape and form thought. It's the imagining faculty that presides at the nerve center between the eyes. Through this faculty, the formless takes form. What you imagine becomes real, becomes manifest in the world. With our imagination, we lay hold of ideas and clothe them with substance. The body is the product of the mind. What man pictures or imagines in his mind will eventually appear in his body. In the communication of God with man, the imaging power of the mind plays an important part. It receives divine ideas and reflects their character to the consciousness. According to Scripture, this is the opening of the heavens and the seeing, the quote, angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man, end quote. So the part of the body that is representative of imagination is this, and between the eyes, some people call it the third eye. Bartholomew, the apostle, represents imagination. Bartholomew, one of Jesus' 12, discovered that Jesus knew him even before they had met for the first time. He was in Jesus' mind before Jesus met him. The apostle Philip brought Bartholomew, who is also called Nathanael, to the Gospels, to Jesus, telling him that Jesus was a person that prophets spoke about, the promised one of God. The moment Jesus saw Bartholomew, he praised him, saying that he could see that there was no dishonesty in his heart. He was without concealment or distortion of truth. Bartholomew immediately began to believe in Jesus, and Jesus told Bartholomew that he would see great things because of his faith. Jesus' words certainly came true. Bartholomew did see and hear many great things as an apostle of Christ. He saw Jesus heal the sick and perform other signs to show people God's love. He heard Jesus talk about the kingdom of God that was open to everyone who lived with love. He saw Jesus suffer and die on the cross to save all people from sin, and he saw the risen Lord who told his disciples that they too could live forever if they followed him and his teachings. So the imagination is a point of expression for a set of tissues that extend back into the brain and connect with an imaging or picture-making function near the root of the optic nerve. Through this faculty, you can project an image of things that are without or ideas that are within. For instance, you can project the image of jealousy to any part of your body, and by the chemistry of thought combined with function, make your complexion yellow, or you can image and project beauty by thinking goodness and perfection for everyone. Bartholomew is connected directly with the soul and has great power in the pictures of the mind. Jesus saw him under a fig tree and a long way off before he was visible to the natural eye. Do not imagine anything but good, because under the law of thought, combined with substance, it will sooner or later come into expression unless you head it off. So imagination allows us to bring the formless to form. And the other thing that I love is imagination allows us to see what you could call with God's eyes, with the eyes of the divine, with the eyes of truth with a capital T. So you can look at the world and see that stuff's happening, but you can see it in a way that others do not see. You can see it with a clarity. You can see forest and trees. Not just the stuff going on, but that there may be other things going on. And so, when you are frustrated with what's happening in the world, you can allow this power of imagination to see a little further back, a little higher up, and realize that there is something else going on or something larger going on. And we are at a time in our nation and in a world where we could use people who are seeing something other than what's going on. So many of us are caught in the dirt, looking at the ants, crawling around, crawling all over each other, pulling each other down, fighting with each other, scrapping with each other. But we need people who can see from a higher height, so to speak. So let's, Quentin, can we show that video? Kind of depth and acuity of vision, just in an eagle. And we have so much more in this divine power of seeing, of imagining, that you can see that far. 2-3 miles away, they can see something moving. I don't even want to drive 2-3 miles sometimes, let alone be able to see 2-3 miles away. That's God. To be able to see an ant from several stories up, that kind of power, to be able to see something like that, hone in on something like that. And our power of imagination is so much more than that. A wide field of vision so that you can see all that's happening because you are tuned in to the divine. And so if we stop just trying to see with these two things, and we stop trying to see with our brains, our human brains that have all this stuff in them. We call them in my class that I'm taking AEPs, already established premises. All the stuff, all your baggage that clouds what the heck you're looking at. And stops you from seeing it clearly. If you can tune into the divine, all that goes away. And you can have a visual acuity that's so much more than what an eagle has. And be able to see the world, perhaps, for what it is. Be able to see yourselves for what you are. Because most of you are not seeing all that you are. I don't always see all that I am. I'm most often looking at the stuff I don't want to see about me. And having my stuff about that. And so it takes me backing up and seeing myself in my divine essence, and that's when I see the truth of me. And that's what we all need to do for ourselves, so we can step out into the world and see it from this as spiritual eagles out in the world, and see what's happening as spiritual eagles out in the world. That's the power that we have with imagination. So you can either craft a world that you want, and as we're dealing with the world and seeing it perhaps as it's happening with divine eyes, then we can craft what we want in your own little world or in the world at large or in this nation, wherever you're called to have your focus. Craft what you want. Hold that vision, even when it looks like it's not going to happen. And hold the vision. The challenge is holding the vision. when the stuff you don't want to happen is happening. And people's voices are getting louder and louder because of what's not happening. Oh my gosh, the noise around what is happening is huge these days. And heavy. Yeah, I'm tired of heavy. There's a lot of heavy. I'm tired of heavy. So a lot of the time, I'm just trying to get away from heavy. I'm shutting off heavy so that I can stay in a place where I can hold a vision for the world that's much higher than what's happening down here with the ants. With the ants. But you got to use this power of imagination. You have to use your faith, all the other powers that came before that. You have to use all of those so that you can hold this vision for yourself, for your own world, and for the world. It's so freeing to know that there's some other thing going on other than what appears to be going on. Where you can hear the noise and look at people and say, it's all good, folks. It's all good. Because God's in it.
In everything. Everything. That's it.
It's all good, folks. Take a breath. Shut up. Shut up. I think my next calling is just giving out duct tape it so I can put it over people's mouths. Just be quiet. Just be quiet, please.
Like Aaron Butterworth, he says he's even in trash.
God's everywhere. God's in everything. Yes.
Everything. Every little piece.
And our challenge is to see that God is there, that God is present, that there is a plan, that there's something happening other than what appears to be happening. There's something else afoot. That there's love present, that there's harmony, that there's order. So many people are seeing and feeling chaos. And to be able to wake up in the morning and know that there is order happening right now in the midst of all of it, that's holding it all together and making it work and working in you. So imagination, what do you want to see for yourselves and for the world? What's not working now that you want to change? And how are you going to craft that? And how are you going to look at the world from now on? How are you going to look at what's happening? Are you going to see with eagle's eyes, or are you going to be down on the ground in the dirt with the ants? Suffering in the noise. Not that I don't like ants. I love ants. Everything works together for good. We got to have ants. The proverbial ants.
There's peace in me. That's what I want to see.
Just take a breath and allow your imagination to work. And know that as a divine power. So many of us the imagination is beaten out of us as children. And we think we just have to be in the world and stop daydreaming and just do what you're called to do. We need to let our imagination go. Let it free. Let it run. And when you think you've seen all you can see, ask Spirit to help you see more. Know that perhaps the 5 or 6 things that you do see, know that there are 5,000, 6,000, 6 billion, 100 trillion other things that could possibly happen, and they can happen with God. As soon as I think I have it all figured out, I stop myself and say, you probably don't, because there's no way this brain can conceive of all there is. And all that is possible. So let yourself see with as spiritual eagles, with a divine eye, with this third eye, whatever you want to call it, and see something more. There's so much more out there. There's so much more in here, in each of you. And I challenge you to see yourself with different eyes and to live with that imagined picture of yourself. And the more you do that, the more you'll start seeing it happen if you hold the vision. And you'll start showing up in ways that you've never showed up before. And when that happens, life changes and the world changes. Not just your little world, but the whole universe shifts, because that's how the quantum field works. When you shift, something millions of miles away can shift as well because you shifted.
You know, can I say something? I had an experience that, I saw a wreck on the freeway, and normally I would say, oh my God, there's a wreck, but right before I said it, I just changed my thought, and I go, God, I know that you're there in that wreck, and that's it, and it's over with. I know that you're there in that wreck. So who's better to be there? That means the doctor of everything, I mean, I just had to put that in there. Sorry.
You just had to put that in there.
I love it. It's just a different, wow, just a little switch, just a little tweak on it.
Just add God to the mix.
Right?
And add God to your sight and to your imagination
Yes.
and to how you see all things in this world, including yourself.
Yes.
Most importantly, yourself. Because everything starts with you. Everything in your world starts with you. So see yourself as a spiritual eagle. Let's take this into meditation. So breathe deeply. And here in the darkness behind your eyelids, imagine a bright blue, endless vista of sky. Endless sky. And the blue is just brilliant. And maybe there are clouds passing through this sky, different shapes. And you're just captivated by the color, the openness. And just let yourself be there, open. Open all levels. Open emotionally, open mentally, open spiritually, physically open. And as you're enjoying that expanse of blue, let yourself feel a point of energy between your two physical eyes. And imagine that area alive. Maybe it's pulsating, vibrating. This place of wisdom, that seat of wisdom between your eyes, that can see the expansiveness of all there is. That is actually the blue expanse. Know yourself as that expanse. Know yourself as the wisdom cloaked in divinity. Continue to see the blue. Knowing that all things are possible. That 1,000,000,000 times 1,000,000,000 to the 1,000,000,000th power and more of possibilities exist in that expanse. Things our brains could not comprehend can happen from this expansive consciousness. Problems you thought couldn't be solved, issues you thought that couldn't be laid to rest, find their solutions in this expanse. Relationships you thought couldn't be healed can be healed in this space that is expansive, unlimited. A kind of love that you thought wasn't possible is possible in this expanse. Because all things are possible with God. All things, all things, all things, anything based in goodness and love that you can conceive of is possible here. There is no straw that breaks the camel's back here. There's always more, always another way, always more energy, more love, more understanding, more harmony, more unity than ever we could conceive of here. You can go from nothing to something. You can go from 4 or 5 dedicated souls to a room of 30 or 40, highly engaged, loving, hardworking, gifted souls committed to a purpose like we are here. All the things that are beyond our wildest imaginings are here in this space, this endless space. So here in this feeling of expansiveness, what's one thing in your life that you need to set free? And surrender it to this infinite field of possibilities that is God. What's the one thing you've given up on? What's the one thing that frustrates you more than anything else in your life? That you need to surrender to this endless space. This endless field of possibility that is God. Look at that, whatever that thing is for you. invite you to be willing to set it free now into the ethers. Let your divine sight lay its power upon it. I invite you to let your imagination go wild about possibilities for that situation. And if you can't go there, call in God to see it for you and inspire you with a picture for you to hold. Let go and let God, let God and let go. And I invite you now to see yourselves as an eagle flying free in that expanse, free of that issue. Feel the frustration or hurt or sadness or anger, whatever it is you feel around that thing. Let yourself fly free now in that expanse with the strength of an eagle, with the expanse of your wings catching the drafts miles high above the mountains and the trees. Where nothing else can fly. Set yourself free with your imagination. Just let yourself be free for a while. Soaring high with great strength and ability. With a strength of vision, an acuity, a clarity. Like never before. And where there was a problem, there is no problem now. For you have set your divinity upon it. So we say yes and thank you for the gift of imagination, for the power of imagination, for the ability to craft a new way, the ability to see a new way. So it is, and so it shall be.